listening to Maria and Russell. This is the After School Book Club on LearnRadio.net.
Hello and welcome to a very, very special book club show. My goodness, your host today, Maria Wojciechowska-Caneda, and me, Russell Prue. Hello, Maria!
Hello, Russell. Lovely to see you.
We're back, everyone. We are back with a very special show today for you. If you're listening to this as a podcast, you may like to visit the show page where you'll find a video broadcast of the said podcast. You can actually see us, and that will become acutely obvious and important to you in just a minute when we introduce our very special guest and our subject matter. You need to go to learnradio.net/artshape to find out everything. Now, today, our very, very special guest is the Cardboard King, Darrell Wakelam himself, and we are absolutely thrilled to be hosting him today. He's got a new book, and this show is all about that book. Everything you need, listeners and viewers, on that website, learnradio.net/artshaped. Now, if you want to follow Darrell on Twitter, and you probably do, he's amazing, very entertaining, and always gets back to his DMs. He's just so very good at that. At Darrell Wakelam, if you want to follow him. Maria.
Oh, Russell, it's wonderful. This show, it's like old times, isn't it? Old times during the lockdown. And I remember, don't you remember when we had him on our Crafty Cafe episode? That was such a long time ago. I think that was March 2021. That seems like just 5 minutes ago, but a lot has happened. And we just knew he was destined to write a book, even in those days, didn't we, Russell?
Absolutely, we so did. And congratulations, it's amazing.
Oh, it's wonderful. And the book called Art Shaped, which I have got here, and you know I'm a book smeller, it's absolutely glorious. I usually say books are stunning, but this is just that notch higher than that. It's wonderful. So I think it's about time we invite Darrell Wakelam to the show. Welcome, Darrell.
Oh, brilliant. There he is. There he is.
It's lovely to see you both again.
Oh, Darrell, it's amazing. And congratulations. Absolutely gorgeous title. We love it. It is packed with stuff. And we're going to be talking about some of those make-throughs in this video cast. So stay with us, listeners, viewers. There's so much coming on. Welcome to the show. Perhaps you could just start, Darrell, by introducing yourselves for those that have not had the pleasure yet.
Absolutely will. I'm Darrell Wakelam. I'm an artist, but I am an artist who's never had an exhibition and never sold a piece of work, because I work with children and teachers and educators, and I create artwork mainly from cardboard, but also from other recycled bits and pieces. And that's what I've done for the whole of my working life. So I'm very lucky and in a very privileged position. I enjoy it.
Oh, we love it. Thank you so much. And we love looking into your studio space. Whilst you're talking, my eyes are scanning along your books, looking at the models and things and going, what's he reading at the moment? How exciting. Where did the idea come from for the book? Where did it all start? What's behind it?
I think, well, if I go way back, whenever I've been doing work in schools, one of the most common things that teachers have said to me is, that's a really clever idea. That's a great idea for children. You should write a book. And of course, my response to that's always been the same, which is, I work full time. If someone could find me 6 months and pay me to sit down and write a book, I'd be absolutely delighted. And we'd laugh and joke about it. And then, of course, when COVID happened and lockdown happened, suddenly that opportunity jumped out. And a lot of the ideas that I'd been putting online that children had used during that time led to the idea of collating that information together and actually putting it in one place so people could access it and use some of the things that I've learned over the last 30 years. So it's really come about through that strange opportunity.
Wow. Maria.
Thank you, Darrell. Oh, it's just wonderful to hear you talk. I mean, can you tell us a little bit more about the book, which is out on the 16th of February, Darrell? That's right, and you're doing an interview as well.
Yeah, it is. It's released on the 16th of February. It's been about 18 months in the making. So it contains 50 basic projects, but they aren't just single projects that you follow. They are adaptable and you can apply them to different themes and different topics and different age groups. So I've tried to keep it more open, but I obviously had to devise all those projects. I had to make every single part of them. I had to photograph them, edit the information, and put it all together. So it's quite a big job to do all of that while you're still running your own business as well. So yeah, that's taken a lot of time and a lot of effort, but hopefully it'll prove to be worth it. Yeah.
Thank you, Darrell. And can I ask you a little bit about, who would you think it's for?
So the book's mainly aimed at people who are working with children. So it's aimed at predominantly teachers, but also anybody who likes to do creative work with children. So that could be just parents, it could be Cub Scout guide leaders, it could be nurses, it could be arts workers, anybody who likes to do creative things with children. But obviously this is on a budget. We're using materials that are affordable and that aren't difficult to get hold of. So the idea really is to provide some resources that people can use to make the children's creativity easier for them to access.
I mean, it's particularly wonderful, Darrell, because as a teacher myself, I've been working in primary education as a teacher, as a senior leader for nearly 25 years. And I don't look it, I put a lot of makeup on today. But it was really interesting because even if you're not doing the Egyptians, for example, you link something else. So there was a gingerbread man that you could do. So you're giving colleagues permission to work out of what the curriculum that they're doing. And that is particularly wonderful. And also for home educators, after school clubs, children with additional needs. I mean, I can easily see them picking up this book and following the recipes, as you call it.
Yeah, I mean, that idea of it being a recipe book was a massive part of my original pitch for this. If you think of a classic recipe book that you've got yourself, you kind of attack it in two different ways. If you're a total novice, you follow the recipe and you stick to the ingredients, and hopefully you have some kind of success from that. But as you get more confident, you start to throw in your own ingredients, you start to adapt things, you start to make the recipe your own. So that basic idea was my pitch for the book, because a lot of craft books don't tend to do that. So as you've described there with one of the particular projects, I sometimes take them to a further level where something gets more complex. But if you want to jump off the ingredients and the instructions at step 3 and just go and paint what you've made, then that's fine. So there's that sort of possibility to adapt and go further. Some of the people who buy this book will be very experienced. They'll be artists, they'll be art teachers, and I'm not trying to say they don't know how to do this. The ideas are simple, but it gives them that kind of basic structure that then they can go further with and make their own. And I think that's a really kind of important part of what I was trying to put across in the book.
Absolutely. And what you're doing, I think, is giving people the permission. And I've been speaking about that for a very long time, because I would love to do something with a paper plate, but I don't have one. So what else could I use? I've got cereal boxes. So it's giving the children, giving the educators, giving the artists, the creative exploration people, it's giving them that permission. And that's so important, isn't it, Russell?
Absolutely. And it's time now for some demo action. That's it. Time for you to get mixing. Folks, if you've got the copy of the book in your hand after the publication date, we are on page 22. And this is a favourite of Maria's. I'm going to ask you to do a face mask. And I just wonder why this is so useful. And I think there's something about nothing is thrown away, and we like that. There's a level of sustainability and reusability, and you don't need specialist cardboard for that. Maria's already said you could use a cereal box. Wow, this is just amazing. So we invite you to the stage, please. Make away, because this is a great opportunity, folks, to actually see Darrell up close in person doing his actually modeling work. So take it away, please. We'd love to see the face mask, please. Thank you.
Right, yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this first, because the book really relies on projects like this that I've been using for a very long time. So the actual core idea in the book, I personally limited the materials I used in the book. So whereas other people can introduce other items, I kept it to mainly cardboard and tape and straws and a few extra ingredients, but mainly just cardboard. So this idea really came about from me asking children, what kind of 3D art do you do at home? And a lot of the time they would say, I don't, because apparently it makes too much mess. I haven't got the materials and I don't know what to do. So the book is giving you those three things. It's giving you an example of how you can do something simple. It's saying you don't need any specialist materials, and it's not going to make any mess. So this is the key one. I tried to come up with some projects where all of the bits you cut off to make the object, whatever you're building, get used within the design. So that's kind of a new thing. That's something that I've created. So I call that pure making. So this mask, which is called a one-piece mask, is one of the first things I did in that style. So I said to the children, all you need is some tape. It can be sellotape or masking tape. Masking tape's better because it's paper and so you can recycle it. A pair of scissors. Everyone's got scissors at home because they, wrap presents and cut things up. So we've got scissors and tape. And then you need one piece of card. So behind me, my little stack here, I have one piece of card, which is about the same thickness as a cereal box, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself a mask, but I'm not going to throw anything away, okay? I'm going to hold this up, and I'm going to fold it in half vertically like that, and it's going to fit on my face like that. So it's pretty important if I make a mask. Two things: I need to be able to see through it, and I need to be able to breathe, which is quite important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some eye holes and a mouth hole. Right. So the eye holes, because we folded the mask in half, I'm going to cut both of them at once. So I'm going to cut in from the outside edge, and I'm going to chop some eye holes out. They don't need to be brilliant. You could draw them first. I'm not going to bother. So I've taken out two pieces. I'm not going to throw those away. I'm going to put those down on the table. And when I open that up, it's symmetrical. So the only mistake you can make there is to cut from the wrong side. You're cutting in from the outside edge. Okay, now here's the clever bit. I've cut in from the outside edge so I don't have to poke a hole through, which would be dangerous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that to my benefit. I'm going to slide these pieces together so that the mask pushes out and becomes more three-dimensional. So you can see that on the inside as well. I'm going to slide it together. I'm going to grab a bit of sticky tape, and I'm going to join that back together. So if I do that on both sides, then the mask starts to become three-dimensional, like that. Okay, give that a little squeeze down and you can see. Okay, so I've still got my two pieces. I'm going to use that in a moment, but I'm going to take a mouth shape out. So this time I'm going to cut into the folded edge of the card, which you can see here. So I'll hold that up. I could take any expression I like out. I'm just going to take a chunk out and see what happens. So I'm going to remove that piece. I'm going to keep that piece. And now I've got a hole where the mouth is. Okay, so now this is where it gets interesting for the children, because you start to try and use the shapes that you cut out to make some other part. So for example, this piece that I've taken out from the mouth, you could cut it in half and use it for ears. You could fold it and use it for eyebrows. You could make a beard. You could add to the top of the head. I'm going to use it to make a nose out of. All I'm going to do is place that on the front of the mask, and I'm going to attach it with some more tape. So we'll stick that on. Place it on like that. There we go. And I'm going to stick it both sides. Now, obviously, I could push this into a different shape. I could fold the end of it in to make it more pointed. I'm just going to leave it like that at the moment because it gives you an idea of the shapes that we've used. Okay. So then I've got these two shapes left. The first two shapes that we cut out from the eye. These could be put back on as any different piece. They could go back in the eyes. They could go back in as teeth. They could be eyebrows, they could be ears, they could be horns. So you can use them for any part you like. So let's say, for example, I put those back in as teeth, like this. Okay, so I'm going to drop one in one side and take the last piece, pop it back in the other side. Okay. Now, if I want to get any more cardboard to make any other part of this mask, I've got to take it from the mask itself. So this is what pure making is. So if I cut the corner off here, that. Then I've got 2 more triangles to use. I'm going to put those down. But you can still see that the mask looks like a face. In fact, it's better now because it's got the shape of a jaw. And I've got 2 spare pieces that I can make something else with. So I think these 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to score them, which means I'm going to scratch them. So I'm putting them down on the table, scratching a line into them with my scissors. And I'm going to use these as eyebrows. It's great to add eyebrows because it will change the expression. You can see I'm putting those of the eye there. So I'm going to place that on like that. Wash that down so that you can see the 3D shape of the eyebrow there. I'm going to do that on the other side. And then the same rule applies if I want to make anything else for my mask. I've got to choose a bit to take it from. So this time I'm going to take it from the top corner. So I'll grab my scissors, take another piece from the top corner. That makes the whole top of the head rounder. I've got 2 more pieces. Right, I'm going to do another little trick. I'm going to put 1 snip in these pieces and I'm going to slide them together so that they become more 3-dimensional. You can see how that's gone in. So it's concave. Grab a bit of tape, hold that together, and we're going to have those as ears. So I'll put 1 on one side like that. I've got the other one right here, so I'll do the same thing. Snip, slide, stick together, and then we'll put that on the other side. Okay, so we have got a mask that's made from 1 piece of cardboard with no rubbish or no leftovers. I'm going to do one last thing to it. I'm going to put a snip at the bottom and pull that together. And what that's going to do is that's going to make the chin stick out more, so you can see it's coming out towards you, like that. You could do the same at the top. You can see where the original fold was. So we'll put a little snip there. Doesn't have to be perfect. Take the tape, slide the top together, just like that. Clip it together. And there we go. That's your finished mask. And we've got nothing to throw away. Okay, so that's pure making. So if you finish that, you could add anything you like to that. You could adapt it to whatever project you're doing. It could be an Egyptian mask, it could be a Native American totem, it could be an Aboriginal mask, it could be an African mask. You can choose any kind of style you want to, but you can add to that. You can paper mache over it to make it stronger. You can paint it, you can decorate it, collage materials on the surface of it. So what the book's trying to do is it's trying to give you a skill that the children will enjoy doing, and then you can progress from that to make something more complex or something that's linked to a particular theme. So there you go.
Wow,
That's a
amazing. Wow, amazing. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Oh, stunning, stunning. And as if by magic, Maria's got one there she made earlier.
Yeah, do you know, this whole
let's
process,
have a look at that.
This whole process warms my heart. As a teacher, I remember having to make masks, balloons, mess, the whole day, maybe the week. And this is a life changer. This is an absolute life changer. I mean, for me, it was the cutting the bits at the bottom, Darrell, at the top. It changes it, and no mess at all. Yeah. Every educator out there will know what it's like to have a classroom full of mess and the pop balloons. I mean, tell us a little bit about your experience, Darrell.
Well, the interesting thing with that is that's exactly why this came about. And I was exactly the same as everyone else. So I spent about the first 2 or 3 years, if I made a mask, I would paper mache a balloon. It would be messy. The children would put too much paper on, too little paper on. It wouldn't dry. It would start to deflate before it was even, beginning to dry. So all those kind of problems would occur. And one day I just thought to myself, I don't want the whole balloon. I just want that curved shape. So it made me start to think about things differently. And a lot of the techniques in the book have come from learning by mistakes that you make. Like any artist, that's how you adapt and you get better at what you do. So this is why in the book I'm trying to pass those skills across, so people don't have to do that 7 years of heartache and hassle and mess. They can learn a simple idea like this, make it their own, and then go forward and do something that's easier and, in lots of ways more creative. The process I've just shown you is far more creative and engaging than sticking bits of food paper onto a balloon. So to me, that is really obvious why I want to promote that way of work.
It's absolutely fabulous. I mean, I really think, Russell, that we're going to be the golden generation. I remember speaking to Professor Stephen Heppel a few years ago when we did one of our shows, and he said that, this lockdown will produce such wonderful experiences and really think about our creativity in a completely different way. Darrell, I'd like to talk to you about, what do you, you've elicited it a little bit, what do you hope this book will achieve and, and lead people to do as a result?
I think first and foremost, it's the 3D element. So if you're not very experienced with art and you are working with a group of children in any capacity, most people will go for either the obvious, which is to draw something, pen and paper, pencil and paper, do something flat. Lots of children have already decided that they aren't good at art because they think they can't draw. So you're already up against a hurdle. If you give a big group of children a piece of paper and a pencil, in the first 5 minutes, someone will want a rubber, someone will want to turn over, someone will want to start again, throw it away. Some people will go, I just give up, I can't do it. So you've got all of those hurdles before you start. If you do 3D work, then people tend to think of clay, which is expensive, it's tricky to do, it
messy.
breaks, you have to fire it, it's messy. All of those things. So what I'm trying to say is there's a middle ground. And for very young children, they understand the three-dimensional world very well because they're learning through play, they're learning through their hands. So if you draw the outline of a face on a piece of paper, the reason they paint over that outline is that it doesn't exist. It only exists in our minds. Whereas if you create a three-dimensional edge around something, they understand what that shape is. It's as basic as that. So that's one of the reasons, Art Shaped is the title, because it's all about that. It's about the three-dimensional aspect of our learning and the way we interact with the three-dimensional world that is around us. If you ask children to draw a house, they might struggle to draw the shapes, particularly if it's meant to be in perspective or anything like that. If you ask them to build a house, they will make a much better job of it. It's very, very simple. That's the basic idea.
Thank you, Darrell. And this is so important for our own mental well-being as well, because you can already, when you said about giving somebody a piece of paper, the first thing you want is an eraser. The first thing you want is another piece of paper. Whereas this, you are just exploring yourself. This is such a wonderful skill to have and changing generational ideas of I'm no good at art. Isn't that right, Russell?
Absolutely. That's a game changer, Darrell. A game changer in the classroom. Some nice, safe school scissors, and you could do that. I can imagine with any age child, just very simple. And I just love the way you simply move the two edges to overlap. Yeah. I'd not thought of that before. And then instantly the shape took on a 3D dimension. It was amazing. I just love it. How long did it take you to get all of this together? This is on page 22, folks. If you want to go through it, page 22 in true Blue Peter fashion, other shows are available, like this one. So how long did it take you, Darrell?
You mean to get those ideas together?
Get the collection, get that. Page 22. I haven't got a copy of the book here, so I don't know how many pages there are, but there are loads and loads and loads. Maria's got the book there as well. So 22 is only a fraction of the way through. How long did it take you to do all that?
Well, I think what I tried to do initially was to, I'd got three ways to choose what was in the book. The first one was based on all my experience. So in 30 years, I'd done certain things that I knew that children enjoyed and I knew were appropriate for them to use in a classroom, if you like. So I'd got my own experience. So the mask I've just shown you comes from exactly that. I was doing that mask maybe 15 or more years ago. Okay, and I've used it loads. It works. The other aspect was the things that I put online through lockdown. So some of those have been really popular, particularly things to do with animals and nature and things like that. So those made it into the book and became a project or two projects or a particular theme. But then the final one, which I was really interested in, was when I first had the go ahead to do the book. I put messages out on social media and I asked teachers to get back to me with what they had struggled with, what themes they did a lot in school and would like ideas about. So lots of people came back to me with all sorts of suggestions for projects, topics and themes. And as I'm not a primary school teacher, that was really helpful for me because it gave me their viewpoint on what they thought would be exciting for the children and would be useful for them to use. So really the three main strands where the ideas came from the book are those. Some of them are ancient, some of them are my past history, some of them are things that people suggested and I thought, right, great, I'm going to go and have a go at that. So there's a real mixture of those. And then it was just collating them. So I've tried to put them into 5 chapters. So the first one is faces and figures. So the mask project I've just shown you fits into there. One of them is birds and beasts. So it's all animals. So there's lots of different categories. And then within those categories, there are smaller sort of subsections, if you like, of ideas. So hopefully it's pretty straightforward.
I think so as well. And I know Maria was so impressed with the finish of the book. And you've got a question about the photographs, Maria.
Yes, because as a photographer myself, you know, Darrell, I mean, those photos are stunning. Did you have to create those photos every time you have stop making something and then take the photo? How did that work?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I think it's it's the one thing. Well, I'll hold my hands up and admit if I did this again, I probably wouldn't do that part because it's really stressful to do that all the time. If you forget to take a photograph of one single stage and you move on, you've got to start the whole thing again because you can't unpick what you've made. Yes. So I made a little workstation for myself. I'm no DIY expert, but I made a little wooden board with a frame attached that I could angle to put a phone camera on. And I made everything from scratch and photographed it and waited for nice light conditions where I could snap it in daylight. So there's no lighting on this at all. In fact, when I flick through the book, I know what season it is by the photograph because I can tell by the warmth of the light of when I took them, which is quite a strange one. But yeah, so all the photographs, and the only other photographs I had to get done were the photos that my friend Rob Coombe took, who's a local photographer. I wanted to use someone who was local to me down here in the southwest, and he's fantastic. And I took over his studio for the day and pretended to make all sorts of things and made things in front of him and held stuff up, and he took photographs of what I was making. So the photos that have got me on them were specially done for the book by Rob, and I'm really pleased with them. I think it's captured my animated hands.
They're very good. They're very good. And also what I was particularly interested about the book is because I know on page 43 there's a one-fold figure. It's project 10 in the book. If you're not doing Egyptians, because I know that I never did Egyptians the whole time that I was in 25 years, I would love to do that. You then give some extra ideas to adapt and extend. And I think, colleagues, that's really important. And also links to other curriculum ideas. I mean, this is just the start. It's everything I want in a book and more as an educator, Darrell. Well done.
Yeah, that part of it, I think, was I'm not going to take credit for the whole of that part because the publishers actually suggested that it needed to have those kinds of links. I wanted it to have the adapt part because that's something I've already talked about. I wanted teachers to be able to see how you could run with an idea and you could include it in lots of different projects that you took on. But just so it fitted in more with the actual curriculum, the publishers asked me if I could provide just a simple list of possible ideas that might spark off someone's imagination, and they might think, yeah, we can use this for the project that we've got coming up next. So yeah, that it was a bit like each project in the book has got the what, how, where, and when. Yeah, so that was the actual idea. So what the project was, how you did it with the step-by-step instructions, where it could be used, and when you could adapt it, change it for different ages. So that simple structure of each project was there from the start. And I think that's a really useful, simple way of putting information.
And sustainability is such a big part of your work, because as an educator myself, if I'm planning an art topic or a DT project, I've got to get my resources in, but all your resources are, you know, very sustainable. I mean, how important is that for you as an educator, as easy for me to say, and as an artist yourself? There you go. I got there in the end.
I think, to be honest, I mean, absolutely honest now, it didn't start off as being to do with being ecological, because I'm going back 30 years. So the reason I started doing that is because the budget for my art department, where I originally worked, was so small. So in order to buy decent paints and brushes and all the other kind of fancy stuff, I decided I was going to start using kind of scrap materials as the base for my work, because I could get that either for free or very cheaply. But then as that's carried on and the environment has become a more powerful thing in society, then I found myself leading more towards that. And the actual pure making idea, which probably started maybe 10 or 15 years ago, that also came out of that idea of how can we, you know, people sometimes in school will say, we're doing a project about recycling. The kids bring in a load of recycling. 3/4 of it gets pushed into the bin and goes to landfill. So the actual base of that whole idea of being ecological, you might as well throw out the window. So there has to be a way of doing that where you either use up what you've got left over, which I often do in schools, or, you know, if some scraps are made, you either keep them for the next time, or if they're too small, little tiny bits, then you properly recycle them, you know. And I think people are much more savvy about that now. We've all got our own collection bins. When I was a child, that wasn't the case. You know, we've all got bins for you know, different types of plastics and cardboard. So it's more part of everyone's thinking. I think children are more used to thinking like that. Yeah. So it's no great leap of imagination to do that with an art project, to think about how much of the original material you can use to save on so much of it being wasted. That's the plan.
And how hard is it for you to throw something away? Because I know that when I get some packaging, I'm literally like this towards the bin, and then I put it in my crafty cupboard, which actually now I've got two, because I never know what I'm going to need it for. Don't anybody ask me what I'm going to use it for. I don't know yet. That's always my stand to. But is it hard for you to throw anything away, Darrell?
It can be, yeah. I mean, I have a separate little bag next to my recycling. So anything that I think I can use and don't need to throw away will go in that bag instead. And that bag eventually makes its way either into school workshops or into what I put online. I can sort of prove it because behind me, I have a little folder full of all my off from what I've been recently doing. So when I do stuff online, I turn straight around and I drop the bigger pieces back in here. They get used next time, and it's only the tiny little scraps that end up in the bin. So yeah, I am proving that by my own standards. Yes, hopefully.
Oh, that's good. That is so good. I have a question now about animals or nature. What is it that really pulls you in? It's an eclectic mix of a whole range of things. We've just touched on just a couple in this broadcast, but I just wonder, you personally, animals. What is it? What particularly motivates? What lights your fire in the book?
I think the reason for that, and I think the reason you've picked up on that, is just something in my character. Because one of the reasons I ended up living in Lyme Regis in Dorset was the natural history, the fossils, all of that. I was a little fossil boy, you know. I used to go to a quarry and take my hammer with me and look for fossils. So I'm a real, Attenborough fan from knee high, and I've always been interested in natural history. So I think a lot of projects, particularly in primary school, have that link as well. So science projects linked to kind of mini beasts and pollution and and all sorts of ecological aspects. So it's very important in schools. I get asked to do a lot of work based on animals, not just actually to do with nature, but to do with stories and books and characters as well. Even simple things like the hungry caterpillar or something like that, that's got links to science and nature. And so in the book, it was really important to have a section about that, and a lot of my own work links to that as well. And I think, to be honest with you as well, fundamentally, children are interested in what is around them. So even if they're inner city kids like I was fascinated by the wildlife I saw, even in a very industrial part of the country. There were places that I could get to see that and to interact with that. And it has massive, powerful memories for me as a boy. I think that's the important thing in the book as well. I have tried to choose things that not only adults will be inspired by, but will grab children's attention. Because if you're going to do a creative project with children, if you can automatically get 3/4 of them to be interested by just the one word that you say about what the project is going to be about, then you're already winning. Yeah, they're already on your side. They want to do it. So I think that's an intrinsic part of what I do anyway. I've got to make things that children are excited about doing, and that's obviously a really powerful starting point.
They're so accessible as well. You just, a pair of scissors, a bit of sticky back plastic tape. There was no glue. There was no mess. It was quick. It was easy. And then you had something that was tangible. It was visible. It had a meaning, a Halloween mask. It's very easy to relate to as well. I just absolutely love it. It does come across, and it is part of your character. There's no doubt about that. Maria, you've got another question there.
Thank you, Russell. I'm listening to lots of wonderful things, Darrell. Can anybody book you? Schools, organisations, how can they get in contact with you to have a visit? I'm sure you're booked for this year, but maybe next year.
Yeah, it's interesting really, because I've always had quite a busy diary, even before all of the lockdown projects kind of took off. So I've always had lots of regular clients. People book me, people email me and ask me to come in. Usually they have to book me, I would say, at least 6 months, probably 12 months in advance. I've also, since lockdown, been doing some Zoom sessions and team sessions online. That's basically because there's a limit to how far you can travel for work. I travel, I think, probably 300 miles radius from where I live. Any further than that, and it's just a little bit too crazy and takes up too much time. So I've been doing a lot of drop-in, show people some ideas and techniques on any theme they choose, and then they've been going off and making and then sending me photos of what they've created, which is fantastic. It's a great way to communicate. I've done it further afield in this country, but I've also done that in the USA, Canada, Singapore, France, Spain, all over, lots and lots of different places. And that was started in lockdown because it was the most sensible thing to do, but it's something that's continued. I'm still doing that. I'm doing that this month to a couple of different places. So it allows you to have that connection. Even though I'm not physically there, the ideas are simple enough for me to put them across, and then for children to, go and have a go at that themselves. And it's worked really well. So there's those options. Yeah, there's the option of the online as well as the face-to-face. Yeah,
that's wonderful, because I can just hear people saying, how can we get Darrell into our schools and our organisations? It's brilliant, Russell. Warms my heart.
Well, thank goodness the book's available. That's all I can say. You can't wait. I can't wait. A year. We need to be doing this now, this very second. Thank goodness for the book. I mean, just amazing. Available from all of your popular outlets, folks. Your local bookshop will be able to get hold of it. We've put a couple of links on our show page where you can go and order the book. Of course, the usual suspects are there: Waterstones, Amazon, and bookshop.org. But do try your local bookseller if you can, because they will be able to access the book. It might just be the most cost-effective way. It's an excellent price. We absolutely love it, Darrell. Congratulations. It's an amazing title. Folks, you can catch all of our podcasts and videocasts. If you're watching this and want to take it with you in the car or listen to it on your mobile player, you'll be able to download this as a podcast and subscribe to it. Just go to podcast.learnradio.net or click on the link on the website. It's absolutely been a fabulous pleasure to catch up with you, Darrell. Really good. A lovely make-along. Congratulations. That was absolutely brilliant. Don't forget, you'll find all of our material on learnradio.net. And if you want to look at more for this and find Darrell's website, darrellwakelam.com, of course, and if you want to be reminded of that, just go to learnradio.net/art-shaped, because, of course, everything is art-shaped. Maria, we've had a blast and a half, haven't we? It's been fantastic.
It's been wonderful. I had a little quick flick of the book, and now I'm going to be arting for the rest of the day.
Well, that's
That
your
sounds
afternoon. I know. Well, that's a good measure, isn't it? Really, if you can motivate and inspire young Maria with this, who is no stranger to art-shaped stuff. Congratulations, just brilliant. Thank you again for joining us, Darrell. It's been a real pleasure. The best of luck with the launch activity. It's available on the 16th of February, listener viewers. If you want to get your advanced copies, and I would advanced copy purchased. I would. There's a very good chance that some local stockists are likely to run out very quickly. More are on the way, but you really want to be first. You want to have your copy of this book on the 16th of February and not waste a moment to get stuck in. Darrell, it's been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. We've absolutely loved you. Thank you so much there. Darrell Wakelam, ladies and gentle spoons. Thank you so much. Oh, stunning.
Nice to see you,
Thank
mate.
you. Bless you, sir. Thank you very much. We'll be back with another show fairly soon. Just check out our specials if you want to. A big thank you, Maria. That was marvelous. We absolutely loved that. Do you enjoy that as well? I thought it was fantastic.
It was brilliant. It was everything that I wanted to do today. Thank you.
Brilliant. And so easy and so accessible. And we like that. So do check out the website, learnradio.net, for all the news of what's coming up and what we're getting up to later this year. There's lots planned, so do stay with us. Until next time, it's goodbye from her.
And it's goodbye from him.